Hey everybody, it's Rob Folia and Jessica Klein here with Folia Properties at Keller Williams in Nashville. And as you can see, the title of the video, we want to talk to our potential first-time home sellers that are out there, and basically go through like how to understand the market, especially when moving could be sometimes, and it definitely is for some, a want to make happen instead of a need to make happen. And so, are we ready to jump in and get started?
Yep, we're ready.
All right, cool. Before we even look at numbers or talk about any of that stuff, basically this meme kind of sparked some of this topic for me this week, and you can see on here about I was talking to potential buyers saying, "Hey, buyers saying, hey, I'm looking to buy a house, and how's the market?" And as real estate agents, being able to say, "Hey, well, remember back in May when you were looking for toilet paper?" And yeah, it's just like that. And the reason I say this is it truly kind of is just like that. I mean, I've got friends who either work in retail or run a retail establishment, and I'd be hearing stories back in April and May about how they would get their shipments in, and they'd have like cases of toilet paper, and they'd be like calling their parents or their friends and be like, "Hey, come by and buy this, before we sell out." And it's similar to that right now with housing. I mean, how many? I mean, unfortunately, we've been beat out a couple of times in multiple offer situations recently with when representing our buyers, and we're quick to the punch. We're getting there right away, and at the same time, it's just it's kind of part of it right now. It's kind of par for the course with the shortage of inventory, right, Jessica?
Yeah, and I would add to that in many price points, in especially first-time home buyer or maybe second home buyer price points, that's absolutely the case. And just like in any of our other videos, it's all about the particular area and the price point and everything else. So everything we talk about today is going to be more generalized than normal. And but yes, it's definitely a competitive market right now.
It is, and the main reason I wanted to specifically kind of shout out to all our first time home sellers or potential first time home sellers is I think that's kind of a market that gets lost sometimes. I mean, it's a demographic probably more than a market that gets lost, and the reason I say that is we talk about in our industry first time home buyers, and then I think it's just like assumed that at some point they're going to sell their home and they'll reach out to some real estate agent, but it gets lost in and a lot of it honestly surprises me how often I'll talk with somebody who's never who's has no idea where to get started with it when selling a home. And so while we're not going through the process today and to say this is what you need to do to stage it or get it ready or anything like that, and maybe that'll be a topic for a future video. And what we want to do today though is help you identify basically how to know if you have that want to make something happen, how to know if it's a good time. Because ultimately I think people move for one of two reasons. They move because they need to, like they're getting relocated, or maybe their family is growing and they've outgrown a two-bedroom townhome or something like that. Or they move because they want to move. They're tired of their neighborhood and they say, well, I'd rather move to that neighborhood down the street and get have be in that environment, or I just want more land, or I just want to relocate to a certain spot. So, especially for those who may have those wants, that's kind of who we're talking to today. So, if you've got a want, you're a homeowner, listen to this, check this out, and give us a shout with any questions.
Hmm.
And so, this right here, because we really do these videos to help inform and help educate, not just give the funny haha stuff like this, or to like the meme, and not just give you our opinions. We really do want to give you the facts. And so what we're looking at right here is this is the amount of homes that are for sale in Nashville historically, reported on like the first of every single month going back about 3 years. And you can see it's kind of like, and if you look at where each one of these lines are at the bottom of the chart, you can see how each year it's kind of like a bell curve, where the year starts out. And here, just even go back to the beginning of 2017. Year starts out, inventory rises. There may be a couple little levelings out here, but eventually around September or October, it kind of peaks and then it goes back down. It's just like I said, a bell curve. People, it's our market. We tend to see home sales kind of slow down a little bit in December, January, February, and that's what we're seeing here. And so you see the same thing in 18, the peak of the bell curve around now, August, September, October, drops back down in December. 2019, very similar, a slight little dip right here. However, still a very, very normal trend line peak and
Hmm.
then the drop. The reason why we're pulling this up today is last month we saw a pretty significant drop month over month from June into July for the amount of homes that are out there. And that's one of the things that are really driving how strong of the market that we're seeing, a seller's market. We've talked in a few of these videos about how it's been an extreme seller's market recently. And this is one of the things that's causing that. The fact that, that inventory typically, like if you look, just say it last year, from June into July, there was a slight increase because less homes are selling. Normally at that time, I always say around July 4th is kind of that benchmark where we see things slow down. And that's what I mean right here. This is kind of evidence of that. Here, very similar. June into July, you see inventory rise. At the most, you see it kind of just level off. I mean, that's a difference of less than 30 homes in 2017. So to me, that's pretty much flat. Whereas here, it's a pretty significant drop. And from June into July, easy for me to say. And so the reason I'm pointing this out is it's not the norm, and that's a good thing for sellers who have that want to move, that not so much the need. They want to capitalize on low rates and they want to make something happen, and yet maybe not quite sure if it makes sense, or if they. I mean, what's the old question we always get, Jessica? Like, help us time the market. It's
Right. Yeah. When is the peak and when is the valley? And unfortunately, no one's gonna know that. However, I mean, like you're saying in this graph, we almost have a copy paste every year of, the trend at least, even if it's a little higher, a little lower year after year. And this is a departure from that copy paste. So yeah, it's definitely different, and it gives people who, like you said, are in a want situation rather than need situation, it can be a good opportunity.
Well, exactly, because that old conventional wisdom, like, and I have no idea where it even came from. I've heard it so many times from probably from a lot of first time home sellers who may have heard it from their parents, or they just heard the old wise tale that, oh, the spring is when everybody moves. And that could be, but the springs also, as you can see here, when inventory tends to rise. Same here, when inventory tends to rise. It even happened this year in COVID. During COVID, inventory rose. During those months. And people don't necessarily talk about the other times of the year, whereas right now would typically be kind of a not exactly the most prime time to list your home and to do something. The fact that inventory has dropped as much as it is, and the fact that we're down as much in homes for sale, that makes it a peak time. Like we talk a lot in these videos about what supply and demand,
Yep.
and I think sometimes those two concepts get lost. Like we think something is in high demand, like real estate being in high demand, whereas is it really high demand or is it low supply? Because I would almost argue that based on what we're seeing here compared to where we were last year, you could see a pretty significant drop. Last year was what, 3167 in terms of homes for sale in July of 19. This year it's 2967, so it's down 200 homes. Quick math, what is that? I'm guessing that's the 6.3% that it says right here, which is a pretty significant drop compared to normal. And on top of that, like you said, Jessica, it's a departure, I should say, from the normal trend line that we see.
Absolutely. And I think that well, I know that it's down there. The other side of this, like you said, it's a supply driven shift, if you want to call it a shift. Uh, that's going to cause a change in the sale price as well, an average sale
Exactly, and that's
price.
that's the second stat that we wanted to pull up today. And so this very jagged looking graph, because this is the monthly average in Nashville, and so averages are just that, averages. So if you have some extreme or something like either extreme high or extreme low, that is gonna kind of mess with the averages a little bit. So always take, when we're looking at it on a monthly basis, with a little bit of a grain of salt. Like when we see such a jump from June to July, that does not mean that home prices went up 7% in 1 month, or whatever that would be, 454 to 482, somewhere in that range. That doesn't necessarily mean that. However, this number is huge, where you can see the plus 17.5%. So again, if that's year over year, so let's find July of 19. July of 19 was $410,000 for the average sales price. And again, you can see there was a significant drop, a jump down, and then a jump up again, and a jump down, because the way the graph is put together. And yet it's still a huge change, plus 17%. I mean, this is an all-time high. We've never seen average sales prices be this high in Nashville. So when you
Yep.
take that with the amount of homes that are for sale, it makes it kind of a perfect storm for sellers to be able to dictate what they want to do.
Yeah.
And it,
And actually, another point that makes this even more dramatic is that the interest rates are so low. So now, you have fewer homes and you have higher prices, and those are great things for sellers. And buyers are still able to play on this field because the interest rate is so low that they can afford a more expensive house.
well,
So
so
yeah, it's like the perfect storm for for a fast moving market.
Well said, and I wish we had talked about that ahead of time. 'Cause I saw a great article a couple of days ago on it. I don't have it pulled up. I'm not going to search while I'm sharing my screen for it. And yet, there was an article about how homes are actually the most affordable that they've been since 2016, and that's a combination because, like we've talked about, I want to say it was 2 or 3 weeks ago. So go back on either our YouTube channel or on our Facebook page here and look for our video from a couple of weeks ago because we did a video on how interest rates play such an important factor into home affordability. It's not just price. So despite the fact, just like Jessica was saying, despite the fact that home prices are at an all-time high for sellers, buyers are still in the game because rates are so low that it keeps their payment around the same. So it's really a win-win for both sides. Buyers can afford to pay this type of a price, and sellers get to capitalize on this type of a market. And it's a good
Right.
thing for you if you are a seller who's wanting to buy. So, not just sell and cash out and go rent or whatever it is that you're wanting to do. If you're wanting to sell and then maybe get that home that's a little bit larger, or maybe downsize even. Maybe you were a late bloomer in terms of that first time home buyer, and so maybe you're an empty nester now as a first time home seller. There's nothing wrong with that, and you're not alone. We've helped plenty of first time home sellers in that type of a scenario, and we can help you capitalize on that market, basically be able to sell high and then buy something at a lower price, maybe even have a paid off home, or at the very least lower your payments significantly if you do have to have a mortgage. So a lot of great scenarios, and the moral of the story, the reason why we wanted to bring this up to you today is that if you're interested in this, if this is at all piquing your interest, if you're like, well, we may move if the conditions were right and we could find this home that fits X, Y, and Z criteria, reach out to me. Give us a call, 615-591-5665. You can PM us here on Facebook. Comment below with any questions that you have. And if you're not seeing this live, still comment. We're happy to respond to your comment as well later on. Or email us info@foliaproperties.com because that's that's a big part of what we do, and that's help you evaluate your options and help you make the best decision. Really be a fiduciary for you, not just I know no disrespect to people in our field, but not just open doors, not just be that functionary as a real estate agent, but really be here to help you make the right decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. We're not just here to help you buy and sell a house. We're here to help you figure out when the right time is for you and when it's not. We're here for advice and counsel and just to put you in the best position possible.
Exactly. So I think that's all I've got, unless there was something else you wanted to share, Jessica.
Nope, that's it. I'm good.
Awesome. Are there any questions on our Facebook Live? I saw 1 or 2 notifications here, but with wasn't sure if you wanted to refresh the feed on your end real quick just to make sure we don't miss anything.
Yeah, no, it looks like we got a like from Sarita. Hey, Sarita. And that's about it right now.
Awesome. Well, if anybody has a question, like we said, give us a shout. We're here to help. Even if you're seeing it after the fact, we're always here to be assistance. And so give us a shout, and hope you all have an amazing rest of your week.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thanks, y'all.